Hello and a very warm welcome to Verdict 2014 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, leaders of two of the biggest national parties campaigned in Jammu and Kashmir yesterday ahead of the fifth phase of polling. And let's take a look at the top stories first. PDP's Mufti Muhammad Sayeed slams Omar, says centre is sending relief funds to flood victims directly because it lacks faith in state government. Congress leader Gulam Nabi Azad hits out at BJP in Jammu and Kashmir, questions its silence on Article 370. And BJP fielding its highest ever number of Muslim candidates as it looks for inroads in Jammu and Kashmir. 25 of them are fighting in the Kashmir rally alone. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday directly blamed the Congress for lack of development in Jammu, asking the people to rise above caste and religion and vote on a government that could bring much-needed progress to the region. Modi addressed election rallies in Kathua and Jammu districts of Jammu and Kashmir that are headed to polls in the fifth and the final phase.
अपने आगे के जीवन के लिए सोचने लगा है.
He was in Jharkhand on Monday. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Modi was in Kathua and Jammu, the biggest face of the BJP here too, as the region heads to polls.
कि हिंदुस्तान के और भागों में नौजवान पढ़ लिख करके नई दुनिया बसा रहा है.
Once again, he spoke of development and tapping of huge potential in tourism and industry, saying not religion and caste, but progress was the answer.
ये चुनाव जाति बिरादरी का चुनाव नहीं है. ये चुनाव अपने पराये का नहीं है. ये चुनाव आपके भविष्य को तय करने के लिए है और इसलिए जाति बिरादरी से ऊपर उठ करके, अपने पराये से ऊपर उठ करके अपने बेटों के भविष्य के लिए मतदान कीजिए. ये मैं आज प्रार्थना करने के लिए आया हूं.
And once again the attack on the Congress. Modi charged the party with corruption and bad governance and cited its political strategy of fighting elections separately, yet entering every government with an offer of support and bleeding the coffers.
भाइयों बहनों, जम्मू कश्मीर को यह अन्याय का माहौल समाप्त होना चाहिए.
Modi said Jammu had been the worst victim of this.
इन्होंने अपने राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए जम्मू का सबसे ज्यादा नुकसान, तराई का सबसे ज्यादा नुकसान कांग्रेस पार्टी ने किया है. भाइयों, पूरे जम्मू इलाकों को उन्होंने परिवारवादी राजनीति करने वालों के यहां गिरवी रख के रख दिया था. भाइयों, और इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, अब जम्मू के लोगों को जागने की जरूरत है.
Turning to the PDP and National Conference, Modi said dynastic politics by the two had been the bane of the state for decades.
कभी बाप बेटा आएंगे, कभी बाप बेटी आएंगी, आपके बेटों का नंबर नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि इस वंशवाद ने लोकतंत्र की जड़ों में दीमक लगा दी है. The
Prime Minister said it was time to forget the past, alluding to the past isolation of Modi and BJP by so-called secular parties.
जम्मू कश्मीर के भाइयों बहनों, बीते दिनों में क्या हुआ, कल क्या हुआ, उसे भूल जाइए. आने वाले दिनों के लिए क्या करना है, उसके आधार पर मतदान करने का निर्णय कर लीजिए.
3 districts of Jammu and Kashmir, Kathua, Jammu and Rajouri go to polls in the fifth and final phase on the 20th of December. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And in more news from Jammu and Kashmir, People's Democratic patron Mufti Muhammad Sayeed attacked the Omar Abdullah government. He alleged that the government has failed on all fronts in the state. Addressing an election rally in Rajouri district, Mufti Muhammad said that the mistrust between the state and the centre prompted the Modi government to sanction relief funds directly to the flood victims. Mufti also said that corruption and nepotism had destroyed all democratic institutions of the state. Meanwhile, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi held out a string of election promises to the people of Kathua and Rajouri as he campaigned in these two regions. He termed these elections as a war between two ideologies, inclusiveness of the Congress and the polarization of the BJP.
Rahul Gandhi returns to Jammu and Kashmir for only the second time in these elections. He last campaigned in the state on the 25th of November for the second phase. In Rajouri, that's headed to polling in fifth phase, Gandhi said there is a strong line that divides the two national parties fighting these elections, and it was for the people to choose between them.
तरफ कांग्रेस पार्टी है, एक तरफ आपकी विचारधारा है और दूसरी तरफ कट्टरपंथी लोगों की विचारधारा है। फर्क यह है कि हम लोगों को जोड़ने का काम करते हैं, आप सब लोगों को जोड़ने का काम करते हैं और वो लोगों को तोड़ने का काम करते हैं।
Gandhi hit out at National Democratic Alliance government, saying the valley witnessed violence and bloodshed during its rule, due to which trade and tourism was all-time low. He warned that voting for the BJP would be a blow to the uniqueness of the state and to Article 370, stressing that only a secular agenda could take the state forward. The Congress Vice President also held out promises of subsidized rations, free medical treatment and more.
अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी की सरकार जम्मू कश्मीर में बनी तो उसमें आपकी भी बहुत बड़ी जगह होगी और सिर्फ सरपंचों की नहीं, सिर्फ मंत्रियों की नहीं, सिर्फ एमएलए की नहीं, मगर आप लोगों की, कांग्रेस वर्कर की और आप लोग जो यहां आए हो, आप लोगों की आवाज उस सरकार के अंदर होगी।
JK Deputy Chief Minister and Congress leader Tara Chand is among the key candidates contesting in the fifth phase. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Congress senior leader Gulam Nabi Azad also hit out at the BJP at a rally in the Jammu Cantonment Assembly. Azad questioned the party's silence on Article 370 and said that they shelved the issue to appease voters in the valley. He urged the centre to answer various queries of the people who voted for them in the Lok Sabha election. Azad urged the voters not to fall in what he called the BJP's trap and vote in favour of development, peace and prosperity. And Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah also addressed a rally in Rajouri yesterday, where 5 assembly segments go to the polls on the 20th. Abdullah hit back at Congress leader Gulam Nabi Azad's comment that the Chief Minister had been unable to carry forward the development agenda initiated by the Congress in 2005. He accused the Congress of double standards, saying that Azad had supported him when the two parties were in a coalition, but criticized his policies just days later. Abdullah said that the National Conference has, in fact, had chosen to break away from the Congress as the alliance was an impediment rather than a support. Meanwhile, in Jharkhand, another incumbent Chief Minister, Hemant Soren, addressed a rally in Deoghar, which goes to polls in the fifth phase. Soren said that his party was confident of winning the support of tribals in the state. He said that the enthusiastic turnout in the last 4 phases was in fact a reflection of continued support for the JMM. He hit out at the BJP, saying that the big turnout at Prime Minister Modi's rallies was artificially manufactured by bringing in people from neighbouring states. He said that the BJP had a little chance of making an impact in the state.
बहुत प्रचार प्रसार हो रहा है, बहुत लोग आ रहे हैं, जा रहे हैं और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोग तो उनकी हालत तो ये हो गई है, अब ये चुनाव यहाँ हार गए तो फिर शायद दोबारा ये लोग यहाँ पर चुनाव लड़ने का सपना भी छोड़ने वाले हैं.
And coming back to Jammu and Kashmir, well, BJP is on an ambitious mission 44 plus in the state, and it is banking quite heavily on the Muslim candidates who make up for 40% of its list. Well, among the 32 in the fray, 25 are from the Kashmir Valley. They want a reprieve from dynastic politics in the state, lagging on the development front.
Post Lok Sabha polls and victories in 2 state assembly elections, BJP has launched its most ambitious project yet. The party is eyeing more than 50 seats in the 87-member assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, a state with Muslim majority, and it shows in its list of candidates. There has been a sharp rise in the number of Muslim candidates this time compared to previous elections, from 24 candidates in 2008 polls and 17 from the 2002 edition. BJP has fielded 32 Muslim candidates this time. One of the young faces of BJP in the Kashmir Valley is Hina Bhatt, the candidate for the Amira Kadal constituency. The dentist-turned-politician feels BJP will bring development and the much-needed end to the dynastic politics in the valley.
मेन अभी जो हमारा है एजेंडा वो रिहैबिलिटेशन है, गुड गवर्नेंस है, करप्शन को ख़त्म करना है. और बड़े सदियों से देखिए आप, टूरिज़्म पे कुछ हुआ नहीं है आज तक. सो टूरिज्म को बढ़ाना है, डेवलपमेंट हर हिसाब से चाहिए कश्मीर में।
The controversial issue of Article 370 seems to be on the back burner in these polls, but the party is not shying away from talking about the issue Kashmiris are sensitive about.
ये पता होते हुए कि आर्टिकल 370 से उनके वोट कट भी सकते हैं, तो लेकिन बड़ा अपफ्रंट होके हम कह रहे हैं कि नहीं, हम इस बात को उठाएंगे, हम डिस्कशन करेंगे। मतलब हम दोगलापन नहीं कर रहे हैं, अभी कुछ कह रहे हैं और सरकार में आने के बाद कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो आप उसको अप्रिशिएट करें। जो भी कह रहे हैं तो ओपनली कह रहे हैं।
BJP got over 15,000 votes in the valley for the first time in the recent Lok Sabha elections. From being a triangular contest then, a four-cornered battle now. After the split between Congress and the National Conference, BJP feels it would be able to make enough votes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, among parts of the Kashmir Valley that were hit by floods in the state in September is Rajouri, that goes to polls in the fifth phase on 20th of December. Well, a river bridge that had collapsed in the devastation during these floods is a big election issue this time. Here is a report.
There used to be a bridge across this river once. Before the deluge and floods wreaked havoc in Rajouri in September, what is now a risky rope bridge used to be a solid structure, a key lifeline in the city for trader and schoolgoer, children and elderly alike. In election season, promises to repair the structure is a frequently held out poll promise.
यहाँ पे स्कूली बच्चों को आने जाने में काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि फ्लड में ये जो है पुल के दोनों कोने जो है वो डैमेज हो चुके हैं और बच्चे जो है वो रस्सों पे आ जा रहे हैं। लोग छोटे बच्चे जो हैं पेरेंट्स को उनको स्कूल छोड़ने के लिए साथ आना पड़ता है, फिर छुट्टी के टाइम साथ लेके जाना पड़ता है। आनस नाला है ये एक काफ़ी हाइट वाला पानी आता है, इसमें बहुत पावर होती है और एक ये पानी बहुत ज़्यादा ठंडा होता है।
Much needed repair of the bridge is lost in bureaucratic formalities and clearances between the district administration, disaster response teams and the centre.
ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डैमेज हो चुका है, अब इसके लिए प्रॉपर अप्रूवल चाहिए, ये SDRF के नाउंस में नहीं आता।
Rajouri goes to polls in the fifth and final phase of voting on the 20th of December. And this bridge, or the lack of it, has turned into an emblem of sorts of the absence of many essential needs here. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, that's all in this edition of Verdict 2014. Thanks for watching.